get some stuff printed off, so everybody stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, sorry for the delay here, but is there anybody that's not on the agenda that has something they want to bring up? If you do, this is the time to do it. We can't act on it, but we can talk about it and move on to the next meeting with whatever your request is. So is anybody not on the agenda that's got anything? Okay, Sheriff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Expert with me here, Andrew.
Expert?
Yes.
Where the hell's he at?
I don't know about the expert.
He's the hit guy.
All right, he's got a name.
Yeah, I got your name on it. Amy's got this prepared here. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Use that term loosely.
All right.
That means it has been drip under pressure, right?
There you go. I'm coming to you tonight, and I got Andrew. He's going to have to explain everything to you because this is actually out of my bailiwick big time. It's about a new server for the jail for all of our cameras and operations inside the jail. And that should be first, I think, on your list there.
Yep.
Okay. It's, I tell you, the price of these things is scary too, and I'm hoping maybe Zach can take a look, maybe we can use it out of opioid funds, if possible, of course, you know what I'm saying, what's what we can do, but
Yeah.
anyway, the server at the jail needs to be updated. I'm gonna let Andrew explain everything, what it is, where it is, how it works, and all that kind of good stuff, so.
So the first proposal we have from Secure Dial Switch is formerly, or it used to be Stanley. The archiver for all the cameras is original with the jail. All the cameras are functional, that's not included in the quote, but all of the client machine that's in the, excuse me, the client machines that's in the jail that has the cameras on screen, say in control or booking or the sheriff's office or Patty's or scattered throughout the facility, those will be updated also. So they're all original equipment from when the jail was open. What was that, 7 years now?
You're talking about the new
2016,
facility?
yeah.
Or-
Yeah, it's throughout the new and old combined. That's when these are put in, so. I've already brought the server back from death once, so it's just kind of chugging along. But like I said, they're 8 years old and it's time to, they have to be updated, so. You're playing with fire, that server can last, it's electronic, it can last another day. I give it max maybe a couple more years, but that's pushing it.
And that's the main system too, like you said, it's the touch screen where you have to open up the doors, close the doors and all that kind of stuff.
So this is a motherboard, not.
It's the archiver, so it's the server that takes in all the footage and stores it. And it's a big expensive server. So you got to imagine that the jail has 24/7 recording and it's not motion. So it's a lot of data. That's a big server. But that is the servers and the clients being all updated. And that's $92,164.08.
So what's 143?
That's a different one.
That is for the entire jail intercom system.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's the next part. The entire intercom system has been, of course, they're original when the jail was built, or the new part was built. It is out of date for one. The manufacturer has closed up shop, I think, 3 years ago. You cannot find, the Stanley or Securitas cannot find replacement parts for them now or replacement models. So the whole entire system has to be revamped and completely redone. That is including every single of wire through that whole building for the intercom system back to the second floors. Point of where the system starts. It's a big project. I know 143,000 sounds a like a lot, it is a lot, it's extremely a lot of money, but you're talking every intercom in that jail, every wire being pulled back through new, it's a major undertaking.
Securitas, are they the ones with the server now?
So Securitas, so when Stanley got the bid when the jail was being built, and that's who we're been stuck with, and they also have software in all their systems that are proprietary.
That's the major issue.
That's
They
the
get you
issue.
when you've got them, you know, you can't get nobody else to work on them.
All the systems integrate with the logic controller, it's all Stanley systems. It's their systems, it's not some manufacturer, they just put their name on it, it is their engineer, their hardware, their software, it's their baby.
So this would, this would upgrade, the camera systems and the intercom systems with a price tag, it looks like about $220,000, so.
235, 895.
Yeah, 235, 895, 16.
Okay.
A very nice Lamborghini.
Not good.
Well, I'm just saying.
So well, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna digest this a little bit, I mean, I'm not, can't give you an answer.
These were pre-budget forms, that's, Chris Allen is the sales representative for Securitas, he said, here's these for you to kind of say, this is what we're needing for next year's budget, or what else we could utilize to make this happen next year.
Okay, so, and I think I'm all about upgrading and keeping things up to date and making sure everybody's safe and,
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I wish that we could do is find something that wasn't proprietary. Cause when that's how they get you, man, you know what I'm saying?
Well, we got stuck in that, another thing with the county where, well, they say, oh, this is our equipment, or we're gonna program it the way it'll work through our system, and then you're stuck with them, and
Yeah.
I don't like that either. So is there, I guess I'm gonna ask, is there other companies out there that do the same thing?
Oh, there'd be other companies, but they're gonna be like, we'd have to redo everything.
Well, it sounds to me like with the one side of it, they're gonna redo everything anyway.
Yeah, you either go from 235,000 to easily $1 million, million something.
With a nails.
Cause you're talking ripping everything out and replacing everything. Maybe another company can use the logic controllers and all the relays and all the equipment in the
But
rack.
they're gonna tell you they can't.
Yeah, so.
But they'll say, we'll use them, but we're not gonna give you no warranty because it's not our
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, that's true. Alright, so this is something to read on and digest, huh? I mean, we're operational now, aren't we?
Yeah, we're operational. Yeah. Like I said, this server, this Gentech server could last tomorrow, and it could last
A couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give it no more. couple
Has
years.
anybody checked? to
It's
see-
already went down once and I've had to bring life back into it.
Has
so.
anybody checked to see if we can use, opioid funds?
Well, that's what we came here to ask, to see if you guys would consider that, or,
I'm gonna ask, I mean, would the jail lit fund, cause that's typically the jail, we have a fund that for building jails and maintaining the jail, I mean, would it not, Mr. Attorney, would that not fall into maybe the jail lit fund to upgrade the brains of the jail?
It does, I can tell you it does, yeah, it does, absolutely.
So, I
But
mean,
I'm not sure what kind of money we have in there.
I
to
thought
be
there
able
was
to do
over $1
that.
million in that.
I could not tell you right now.
I thought there was way over $1 million in that account.
That's an option if you think you were gonna go that way.
Well, I'm
Just
not
looking at-
saying, I'm just
Yeah,
throwing
just
out.
throwing out,
yeah,
yeah.
just throwing out ideas.
If we could use the opioid funds, obviously, that's,
Yeah,
Certainly could not use restricted opioid funds.
have to be unrestricted.
I don't think we
The
have that
reason-
much in unrestricted.
The distinction between, I think we talked about using opioid funds for the construction of it, of a secured facility in that other building and the renovation of that building is because those areas will be specifically used for the programs that, the opioid, funds were meant to promote, basically, so. But I don't think just general camera systems,
It's camera systems inside the cells and everything.
that's not gonna work.
Well, actually, it's also the building itself, because the system he's talking about opens doors and shuts doors.
I don't think that the building itself either
Okay.
would qualify.
Well, we need to figure out how much we have in the jail.
I can send
jail
you a
lit fund,
location
because
budget yet
I don't
tonight.
think we have even half that, and unrestricted that.
Well, we have we've got an increase of $700-some thousand in restricted, well, in all of it, but I don't know how much is one and one or the other, so we need to figure that out and see. Cause I know we got another increase, and then there was another lawsuit that was settled,
There
and
was a
we,
new participation.
yeah, we got some more money from another one. So if you could find out restricted and unrestricted, so we can go that, look at that, but actually, he's telling you in the, it'd only be the unrestricted that we could use, but, find out how much is in that jail lit fund as well, cause that's for maintenance and construction of the jail, so.
Here's something else I wanted to bring up too, and of course it's something Zach will have to let us know. Because this amount of money, and because they are proprietary to the jail about open bids. Bidding it, you see what I'm saying?
How much is the amount?
235.
Yeah, that's where all, I believe above 150.
Actually, there's two different systems, so if
Yeah.
we could take one system at
At
92 and the other at 143.
Connected to each other?
Yeah, very, no, it can't, can't break up.
Which,
a job.
But anyway-
bidding on this project would be fine too.
We talked about this once before, that if it's a proprietary type of situation, that only one person could actually bid it anyway, because,
Oh, we have,
one, if we replace it, as I asked Andrew, if we go out and bid it, the other company's gonna be $1 million, because they have to start from
replaced
fresh.
the whole, yeah.
And the other ones are adding on to existing equipment that is theirs.
I mean, I can just literally
we're not-
make a scope of
We're
work,
not building, isn't that right?
No, it's already there.
It's just it's a,
It's an
Well,
upgrade.
replacing and upgrading.
if this company does it, they're upgrading their existing equipment. If a new company comes in, they may or may not use the
so it's
other
more like
equipment.
a public purchase than a public works.
Cause as the sheriff said, they may come in and say, we'll use their wiring and stuff, but we're not gonna guarantee it, so.
Cause it'll make it harder for others to bid on that.
What's gonna be hard, it's gonna be a hard bid.
If we put this up for bidding, the company's gonna be like, no. They're gonna be like, no.
But if that's what we have to.
If we have to
that's
bid,
what
they
we
bid, these
Yeah.
guys bid, and they're gonna come in with the same bids they have right here, the rest of them may be $1 million.
But your specs are gonna be wrote up to where they can.
I would
We'd
say-
have to do the same scope of work.
I would say the safest thing would be to closed bid, and the amounts are what they are.
Let me ask you a question at that. Let's do the bids. Can we get permission to start that tonight?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't see a problem with that,
Yeah.
because we're not agreeing to anything, so if they wanna place a bid, then place a bid.
Does this have to be like advertised before we
It
start
does.
bidding?
Yeah,
That's what I
everything?
said, yeah.
We have to have it by noon Friday, and I
So-
can get it to the paper,
I'm not sure you need our permission.
get the stuff to me what you need.
Ask Kevin.
Gotta run through the legal paper twice.
Yeah, I'll have to get up with the scope of work and get this generated too, so it might take a few days before we can have something fired out.
So,
But we'll go ahead and advertise it then as ASAP.
Well,
to get it
I'll
you
have to
can
have something, I
advertise.
think, to advertise it on.
Yeah, we have to have a scope of work and everything lined up to advertise, correct? Yeah, so yeah, it'll take.
As soon as you get
it'll
that to
take-
me, I'll send it forward.
sounds good.
All right, and we don't have to worry about it because we can advertise for the monies if it's moved from late anyway.
Yeah.
At later time, so.
Alright, thanks,
All
sir.
right, thank you, fellas, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be no problem.
Kevin, you must be living right. I don't know how you got second. Oh, I see why, because the health department's not here.
Okay, so, small structure updates, Bridgewater Road is done, it's back open for
That looks
traffic.
good.
Looks good, doesn't it?
Oh my God.
Andrew designed them earth to burn, so we done away with the guardrail, the oversized structure, I guess, so to speak. I purchased, there's less maintenance on the highway department, less money in the long run, so I like that. Who's moving to Beauregard if that closes down tomorrow? So we're looking probably around 20 days, 21 days, something like that for construction on that one. It's a little smaller, maybe it'll be done quicker. From there, I'll talk to him. Our biggest thing is probably Cutshaw and Main Street. And the way they're designed, we're probably gonna have to shut down both roads right there, which I'll get with the bus directors and with both school districts and kind of talk to them about it, because, you know, that kind of a rough closure right there.
How many day closure?
I'll talk to Kevin about it. Those are big structures, so it wouldn't surprise me. I'm just gonna throw a number out, but I'm guessing, you know, could be up to 40 or 50 day closure. Maybe not that much. I'll have to talk to him about it. But definitely a longer closure, right there. And then the next one, so Livingston Trail, and it shouldn't be an issue from the moment where it's at. The next thing is we got some bridge contracts here. So the first one is for United Consulting, and it is for the 25 through the 28 bridge inspections. Basically, all we're doing here is just kind of agreeing with the contract, and then I'll send the draft to NDOT. If you all don't have any concerns or changes.
Zach, you got an opportunity to look over any of these?
There were a number of them that were sent to me just before the meeting, so I'm going through them right now.
I can. I'd say
They looked at them.
most of them were a repeat of what we do all the time, so.
These are is this the USI?
This is United for the
United.
bridge inspection. There's also a USI one too, but it's for a different project. There's a checklist I'll go through and then send it to NDOT, and then they check the numbers.
So it's all regulated through the state anyway.
They'll get reviewed again.
While he's looking that over, I got a question about the bills or the invoicing that we sent to a farmer over some signs they destroyed last year. Have we ever heard back from any of that?
No, I never heard.
We just, from all we've ever got, is they returned the invoice.
Returned, everything was returned, yeah.
Do you have a copy of that invoice?
I think I do, yeah, I think I should.
Can you email that to me, cause I think I'll knock on his door and just hand it to him. Since I know where he lives, and we keep sending it to the same address, and he doesn't open it, he just sends it back, but it's registered mail. So, and I mean, just FYI, I mean, I'm talking about, we have a federal program with putting signs up, and they had just put these brand new signs up on a bridge on Pleasant Ridge Road, and this farmer decides to come out of a cornfield with a combine, which I understand, but he mowed over 4 signs, which were several $1,000s to replace, because they're actually breakaway signs, and just went on. So we've tried to ask him to pay for them, and that's where I'm at. So before I leave office, I'll make sure he pays for them. So, I'll entertain a motion to accept this consulting contract for county bridge inspections.
Consulting contract draft. I'll be
Consulting
back.
contract, the draft. So,
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes the motion, Greg.
I'll say,
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. It doesn't say draft. Proposal.
Proposal, fair enough.
Is it on the back?
I actually don't think you have to sign that one.
Good.
I just gotta turn in something for that, so that's all we had to do. Okay, the next one's gonna be for, Bridge 28 on Leota Road, over Big Ox Creek. It's our federal aid job, and, this is from USI,
Same thing?
same thing.
Guys, it's pretty much the same thing as the other
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to allow Kevin to send it to the state.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion, Greg.
I'll say.
Greg seconds that, and make that unanimous.
That'd be good for us. I mean, you know, like you pointed out, we had the federal aid with the signs, and do bridge inspection, but to work with them to get, Bridge 28 going, give us opportunity to cash flow and get some assistance. State and, federal money to build these bridges, and help with design and the whole process is good for us, so I'm really looking forward to this.
The only other thing we may wanna do is, and give Mike permission to sign outside of the meeting or some DocuSign. I'm not sure what order they're in, but I'm kinda on a tight schedule. We gotta get under contract by September, so.
I'll entertain a motion to allow me to sign outside of the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion, Greg. Greg seconds that, make it unanimous. I have one thing.
Okay.
It's, I want to change something that, or I wanna entertain something to the other two commissioners about, changing how the highway department kind of functions with their personnel. Speaking with some other county commissioners over the years, they've kind of adopted the same plan of how they structure their employees. And I guess what I would like to entertain is that we do away with, and I'm gonna say it, political appointees to county positions. And I say county positions, county highway positions. And what I'm saying is that for people that aren't following, when a commissioner comes in, a commissioner has an opportunity to appoint a road boss to his district. It's not something that actually is entertained or discussed through the superintendent. It is just a political appointment that they just put somebody in a spot. When I came into office, of course there were 3 Democrats, and when I came in, my road boss was a Democrat. I mean, I didn't care actually if he was a Democrat or a Republican or what he was. And matter of fact, probably weeks went by, and he finally called me and said, "Are you replacing me or not?" And I'm like, "Why would I replace you? Are you doing your job?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm doing my job. So why would I replace you if you're doing your job?" So, so it kind of made me think right then that, is this the best way that we do this or not? So I want to make a suggestion that we do away with that process, that we give the superintendent, excuse me, the superintendent that knows his employees, that knows who's a good manager of people or a person that is well groomed in all aspects of county highway work. Because technically, you don't want a person placed in there that's, I don't know anything about managing people, or I don't know anything about what I'm doing. I'm just new off the road and whatever. So I'm making a suggestion that we allow our superintendent to put people in positions of guidance, I guess I should say, for however he wants to man his department. So I'm gonna ask you guys, you got any questions or comments or suggestions or whatever, but that's, I'm asking tonight to before, you know, that we just kind of do away with that appointing type of thing and let Kevin pick how, I mean, he may have a totally different jive on how he wants to work his people, and it might not be a 3-person thing. It may be a, you know, off the wall type of, hey, let's do this or that, and we don't need 3 road bosses. I need a person to run a crew. So Randy, what do you think?
Well, I talk to Kevin, what, almost daily, or close to it, and I never even hardly talk to my road boss, really. I mean, if I need something, I talk to Kevin, and so I don't see the need of it. I don't see the need of having a road boss. Because Kevin's the superintendent anyway, he's gonna take care of it, gonna make sure it gets done. So, I agree. There's no sense in playing political games with this.
What do you think?
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. I'm gonna be biased, I think I got the best road boss, but.
I don't know.
I would.
But having said that, no, I see that, and you know, I think it's not a bad idea to have that, with Kevin, and, when those positions come open, and, obviously he knows the guys out there, and, those type of positions are promotion type positions, so, obviously, we don't know who's worthy of that next promotion. Like Randy says, I mean, we may talk to Kevin, I do talk to Ben, but not daily by no means, and maybe once a week, or maybe once every couple of weeks, but Kevin obviously knows the goings on and knows his needs more than we do. I know Kevin and I had talked before about, you know, he's looking at other ways that how the highway department can function, coming up with special crews, and we have a lot of needs out there, and so, you know, building crews to fit those needs, you know, better suits Kevin and the direction he wants to go, so, yeah, I mean, I'm good with however you guys want to.
I mean, ultimately, sorry.
Go ahead.
Ultimately, I mean, Kevin's the only one that has the grand plan
Exactly.
about what's going on out there, you know. So for me to call my road boss and have my road boss do anything without going through Kevin, well, that disrupts and undermines everything Kevin has got planned.
Yeah.
So that's why it don't make sense.
Well, the reason I call my road boss is when I know or see a situation where something's messed up in my district, and I'll call him and say, hey, can you make sure this gets fixed? Or he'll call me, go, hey, we're out here doing this, and it just gives me FYI. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we're taking money away from 3 people, because that will stay wherever it's at.
We still need leadership positions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody wants mistaken that, it's just restructuring, maybe how it's accomplished.
But I will say, this doesn't directly have something to do with that, but I'm gonna explain to people, because a lot of times people say we're not transparent and whatnot, but when I first became a commissioner, the robot, or road superintendent, highway superintendent at the time, called me one day and said, hey, there's an opening in your district and I've got 3 candidates, you know, and I said, that's fine. And my attorney's probably gonna have a cow, but she said, who do you wanna hire? I said, hire the best employee, you know, and I said, don't call me again. You know, you hire who you're gonna hire. Don't call me and say, here's the 3 candidates and do you wanna make a suggestion? No, I don't. You know, you hire the best person for the job. So I never got a phone call again, so, but I'm just saying transparency. You know, how often, you know, you work for the state, you know how some of that stuff works. About years ago, when it was all political, that if you weren't a certain party, you can get an application. I mean, that shouldn't happen. We should be hiring the best people that we have and not somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. So, but with that, I don't know necessarily we need a vote tonight, but I want to tell you what we're talking about, and if you want to come up with a plan that, and quite honestly, no, I don't think so. I think I'm just gonna make a motion to do away with it, leave them in the position they are now until you decide what plan you wanna have, because I don't wanna kick this can down the road. So I'm gonna make a motion to do away with the title of a road boss for each commissioner, so.
I'll make that motion.
Well,
I'll second that motion.
I'm making the motion, so I made a motion, Randy seconds that, Greg?
I'll make it unanimous.
Greg makes it unanimous, so they're still in those positions, they're still the people over those districts, but in the future, we're not going to be telling you who the road bosses are, so.
Well, I got some different ideas for some crews to maybe expand out on some asset management and taking care of some things that would have been neglected, so we'll bring that in the upcoming weeks
Okay.
here.
Sounds good, appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Jeremy, and the mass exit.
We really appreciate him in second, so thanks. Appreciate that. See you guys.
Take care.
All
Alright, so last time, I brought 2 quotes for new, air conditioners for the radio room. You asked me to look at, possibly getting one put in the dispatch room. I talked to, those are the original quotes. Talked to both companies, they both said that they put in 1-to-1 controllers, because that is what is needed in the radio room. So the one outdoor unit controls only one indoor unit. So, one company, I called 3 times to ask them to come put in a quote to just do one anyway. Put in a secondary, another system to cool, supplement the dispatch room. The only one that did was SNL, and he said you would have to do a split zone unit for that one, because my office doesn't have enough venting the way it is, and it is controlled from the same thermostat that's in the dispatch room. Said, so if you stopped the big air conditioning from working as much, then you wouldn't have any air conditioning or heat in the office, my office. So he put together a secondary system for the office and the dispatch room. The radio room stayed the same. There was no change in it, again, because it was a 1-to-1 system.
They wouldn't run 3 systems to 1 condenser.
They said that you can't, because even at 0 degrees outside, that system in my radio room is gonna be calling for air conditioning because of how much heat is put off. And if that one calls for air conditioning and the one in the dispatch room calls for heat, they shut down. They can't control heat and air conditioning at the same time.
Okay.
That is the way. I had 2 texts from SNL there, and that's kind of the way they described that worked. And again, like I said, the other company didn't even, like, it's a 1-to-1 controller, that's what you have to have, that's what we quoted, that's what you need for the radio room.
So back up a
I
second,
think
so,
we're talking about two different things or something.
They said the outdoor unit was 1-to-1, that controlled one indoor head. There's even a
I mean,
proposal.
I see what Randy's talking about, if there's multiple heads in, say there's one in this room and the adjacent room,
Mhm.
and you had one compressor outside, I could see where there's a brain somewhere that says, okay, we have head one, it's running the compressor, it shuts off, but head two now needs to run, so it runs, or they're both running at the same time. But I could see how
I've seen
physically,
whole house systems on one like this.
I'd be
Each
shown by what,
individual room.
there's even a note on this secondary quote that they do not recommend a multi-zone system serving the radio room. It needs a dedicated system. That was a note they put.
well, I could see that as far as the reason you have an air conditioning system in the radio room is to make sure it's always running and it's not attached to a secondary unit.
Yeah.
I could see that part, but to say you can't do it, you know, maybe they're recommending that you don't do it, but I mean.
Yeah, that's just the way they described it to me.
So what do you wanna do? What was the original? I mean, is this both of them?
Yeah, it's both of them, and then the price didn't change for the secondary. There's the price for the one system and then a price to add the second system.
I will say that I've never seen quotes so close.
And they didn't see them.
Oh, no, I'm not saying
Yeah,
that whatsoever.
that's one of those things that,
I'm just-
I didn't even tell them how close they were, that they were
This
close.
is the original quotes. And it actually was the same as that original.
Yeah. I was really surprised at that myself, because I got them on the exact same day.
So what do you want to do? You want to maybe talk to somebody and see if that's explain what you're doing, or?
But one of these, this is a mini split.
It's a mini split, yep.
Let's go ahead and go with the mini split and do this now. I still think later, get added to it.
Okay.
Low bid on the minis.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's the second one.
All right, we had two bids for, to replace, the air conditioning system in the radio room for EM 911, sorry. Looks like a 2-ton unit, both look to be the same, you know, scope of work. One's from Miller Heating and Air, one's from S&L Heating. And I'm gonna just read off the quote for Miller is $4,791. And the quote for S&L Electric is $4,745. So it looks like about 40 some dollars cheaper.
Is there a difference in the brand?
In the what? I think one before, if I remember right, before one said they were gonna use existing lines, and the other one didn't say they were gonna use existing lines, but I think they were using existing lines. But it's just not, the verbiage isn't there.
The
but-
existing, condensing, or the condensing line and.
Yeah. Which I don't know why you would run the line. It all hooks up.
I'd like to hold that, actually, because, and here's why. We got this one, a brand. This is what brand this is.
Did Millers tell you what
No.
brand they were using?
Mhm.
I mean, we can
No,
tell you,
they
it's still working right now, isn't it?
Do it,
Is
it's
it still
still,
working?
yeah, it's not needed to charge it again yet. So that's
Let's
the
just
thing
table
that
it,
leaks. is
table it till the next meeting, but,
Get the brain from.
find out what brands both.
Yeah, because, I mean,
He's got LG.
and I'm sure there's a warranty, but we don't have anything here. The bids are very close.
Yeah.
We don't have any brands and we don't have any warranties.
If you could,
Any
Get
warranty
those, both of
information.
those?
yeah,
Okay, I can do that.
hold on, John.
Will do, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'll do minutes.
He says he's gonna be a minute, so he's gonna let me go.
He's gotta finish his drink back there.
I'm pretty quick.
How you
That
doing?
worked out.
All right, how are you?
Doing good.
Been a while since I've been in here.
I was gonna say, been a minute.
All right, I got this for you guys.
Oops, sorry.
We are looking to purchase a vehicle for probation use. Probably something I should have done a long, long time ago. Probation office is out in the field regularly. I do all the home visits in Scott County, have for 24 years now. And when I do them, I go with a law enforcement officer and I literally ride with that person. There's been more times than I can count where that's been an issue for what I'm trying to do when they have other obligations on their time as well. I'm in the process now, training another officer for the field and looking to expand. Someone we just hired has previous experience in Missouri at their probation and parole and has field training experience there as well. So we're trying to expand this a little bit to get more officers out in the field. And in doing so, we're going to need a vehicle. Like I said, it's probably something I should have looked into a long time ago. But I tried to make do. Our office is always very frugal with our spending. We have the funds to cover this. I'm not asking for anything, just the ability to be able to do it. Got 3 quotes here. I tried to get the same vehicle. In between me asking this dealership there, the Jeff Weiler, the one I was looking at sold. A comparable vehicle. It's a little bit different, but the other 2 are the same.
So why that particular vehicle?
Well, I wanted 4-wheel drive for the inclement weather situations, but I didn't want the full size. I was looking for something a little bit more mid-size. For our purposes, we're not going to be transporting people to jail. We're looking to equipment, maybe when several of us go to training. I went to a training recently in Lafayette, at the police training academy there for field search and seizure with the Lion Shield Corporation. And I actually borrowed an old Crown Vic of the sheriff's department as a tank, man. And it got me there, but I was worried a couple times.
How many mileage? You do mileage right now, don't you? If you're going to seminars or such?
Yes.
So that would cut out.
That would cut out all that, yeah.
Cut out the mileage part of
Yeah.
us paying for, so.
Yeah, we do a lot of training in our office. Plus, we've got requirements for our juvenile officer when we got a juvenile that's being kept in a particular facility, you're required to go meet with them, stuff like that. And we're using our personal vehicles. Like the last home visit I did with the sheriff's department, I get the call at the house. They've got the individual I've been looking for who was selling fentanyl. And I just go straight to the location in my truck and then go to his house in my truck. We find somebody with a warrant we have to chase down. My vehicle's parked out in the front yard. I did find the fentanyl pills inside.
Yeah.
But it's something that we do a lot of, and we can do a lot more of it with this.
Well, I personally don't like people using their personal vehicles because there's a liability that we're actually placing on you. Because if you have a wreck, it's your insurance that's going to take the hit, so.
That's exactly right.
I've done one before with a whole truck bed full of state troopers.
Oh, I know.
ERT.
But it's just not, it's not.
No, I agree.
It's not
I don't
the
want
right. We should never put you in that position. I mean, and we shouldn't put any county employee in that position.
And just to piggyback on what you're saying, Scott reached out to me, and that was the thing that sold me right away, is I didn't realize that you guys were using your personal vehicles. And so.
Like when I'm watching a house,
Yeah,
I'm across the street in my truck, my binoculars, you know, sex offenders, drug dealers.
I urged him to go out and get some quotes on something and bring it to us.
And I, you know, I was looking for something reasonably priced as well. I mean,
I mean, that's why I only question, because I was like.
I have a Cherokee and it's been a fantastic vehicle, 265,000 miles on it. It's not the Wrangler, stay away from the Wranglers. But, it's, you know, it gets good gas mileage, it's gonna have like, you know, 25 miles to a gallon. Like I said, it's 4-wheel drive, and it's medium size, so 4 of us can pile into it and go to a training.
So you have.
For all purposes.
Yeah.
And then again, you said you had the money to pay for it.
Yes, for
That's
everything.
even, that's the big clicker.
That makes it easier.
What do you think, Randy?
Well, just doing quick math, it's gonna cost him $622 for Uber to go around the county.
Well, you gotta find an Uber driver.
I was trying to find a police officer who could drive me around, but
And that's just a daily thing, so.
I've been in a house before though, where we had literally, the guy was sitting on the couch when we came in, he was selling pills, we thought he shoved him in the couch. We get the couch moved over, and I'm searching in the couch, and the officer that I'm with gets a call. We gotta shut it down and leave right there. I'm like, you know, I know the pills are in that couch.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it works out because, you know, we can go out in pairs, which, you know, our standards say we're supposed to do when it's just us. And then if something takes place, we contact law enforcement to come assist.
How many miles did you say you had on the vehicle?
On my Jeep,
No, it's his.
That's your Jeep? That's your
I've got a
personal?
personal Cherokee. That's
That's what
kind of
you're
why I
using now?
like this vehicles, because I know the
Oh, okay.
Cherokees and the Compass are good for longevity. The Wrangler, on the other hand, is going to be the shopping line.
Right.
It's a toy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll say, since my time being a commissioner, I mean, this is the first time you've ever been in here.
It is.
And so you
Yeah,
did a great
we're
job
very
up
frugal.
there. We appreciate that.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to allow him to purchase the 2024 Jeep Compass, the limited 4x4 for, it looks, and we're gonna go with the lowest bid here. And I guess I will read all the bids so that everybody knows what they are. Looks like, the first bid is for $33,262.50, and that is for John Jones. Second one is Russ Huber Automotive for $34,728. And the third one is for Jeff Wilder for $36,178, so.
For a trail haul.
And that's a trail hawking because, it's still a Jeep Compass, but it's a.
Yeah, it's just
It's
a
an
package.
upgrade. So, I'll entertain a motion to accept the lowest bid at $33,262.50 to John Jones.
Yeah, it's cheaper than yours, so I'm gonna say yes. I'll make that
Randy
motion.
makes a motion, Greg
I'll say,
seconds that, and I'll make it unanimous, so, there you go.
All right, I appreciate the time.
All right,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for what you do.
Appreciate it.
I see.
Now I can leave my truck at the house there.
Now you don't have to investigate, follow Nick around since he gave you his.
He's gonna let me drive his, Lord.
he's got a show.
It even says cheap on it for me.
You can borrow them out of town.
I drank one of those. I don't know what you think.
It's water.
I know, that's what I said. This is water too.
For half the cost.
Yeah, this is about 30 cents.
Okay.
And I don't make your money.
That's close. All right.
What are you drinking?
Water.
Liquid death? That's what it says.
Fingers crossed. Give me a lot of information to digest. I added some stuff today because some stuff is continually piled up and I feel like it's time to address it. But we'll go over the financials first. July, we had an extremely healthy month at 237. Training's up to 20,000, paramedics up to 66 for a year-to-date of 1.45 million. That puts us at a projection of 2.4 at the end of the year. Current cash ledger is 881. We have not received our total sum deposit from July yet. We'll receive that next week.
So after we get the deposit and after we pay payroll this week, we should be around the 1.04 million mark. So that's financially where we're at. Run volume rise, we did 483 911s, 82 community paramedicine, and as you can see, we did 565 runs last month, and that has been a steady continuation of where we're at.
So actually, I just got it.
First thing on my list as far as business is concerned is proceeding with the attorney agreement for the collection of the outstanding paramedic balances.
Question, that is only paramedic, it's not the training, EMS training facility? Everything is through the collections that you're asking for are for
paramedic only.
For paramedic.
That's the only place we have an issue.
Because everybody else is paying their bill.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So that's the only one, excuse me, that's the only place that we do.
I will make a motion if you say the attorney's name.
The contract I just sent to you, you can print that off.
Jimmy.
Jimmy, no, I want the whole name.
Guilfoyle. There you go. The only place that we have outstanding balance is through the paramedic program from the last cohort, and it's just those 3 individuals, that we've been referring to for the last.
Zach, I can say the estimated amount that we're trying to collect as long as I don't say the people, correct? I just want people to know that we're not going after pennies or.
I would
You can do a sum.
normally refrain from advising you to make statements about potential pending litigation, but
Oh, I was gonna say.
with that acknowledgement that I normally would highly advise against that, if you want to make a statement, you certainly can.
Alright, I won't. Anyway, I will say this, we have some very substantial, monies that we're trying to collect, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a small amount of money, so.
And and plus, if we don't set a precedent now, in the future, we're not gonna be able to, so. I'm gonna say that I'll entertain a motion. I mean, wait a minute, you guys read, in the meeting the other night that we talked about all this. I think we proceed with it, is in my opinion, but anyway, I'll entertain a motion to, enter into an agreement with Jimmy Guilfoyle. Guilfoyle.
The contract will be here very shortly.
So,
I'll
you
make a
guys
motion.
both had met him, and I was on the phone with him, sounding everything that he suggested and didn't suggest. I mean, sometimes he goes, hey,
Yeah, I would also advise not discussing what was discussed in executive session, but specifically with the caveat that the only things that were discussed were the potential initiation of litigation. Any other discussions would potentially be covered by executive privilege under the executive session statute, attorney-client privilege, and work product privilege.
I'll make a motion to proceed with Attorney Jimmy.
Randy's made a motion to enter into an agreement with Guilfoyle Law Office. Greg?
I say,
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. Is this line here for me to sign?
Yes.
Can you put me on the agenda then for the council for an appropriation out of that paramedic fund, since I feel like this is something that I should have to pay for as far as the fee.
Yeah.
And if you could send me a copy of this
Signed one.
agreement, yes.
I just don't have a legal line item in that fund, so, yeah. I guess I should start thinking of that.
We will get that done.
Or I guess a line item creation would be a better.
Yeah. Within the fund.
Correct.
And ask for an appropriation from, or
It's
it would just be a transfer, right?
well, it'd be coming out of the self-sustaining fund, so
Okay.
I guess it would be a line item creation for legal and then appropriation from that fund to legal. I don't.
Alright, what else you got?
Okay.
I don't. Okay, here's this, I'll lose it.
Okay, I'll get that, and I'll send, do you need the signed copy back?
They do.
They do,
Okay.
okay.
If you're sending one
I
to
will
them, I'd
just-
appreciate a
I will,
carbon copy.
okay.
You need one for your files, cause you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, that's true. Second thing is a grant application.
I have that.
Perfect. I don't, so that's good.
You skipped one.
I know, that's the long one. This is for Dr. Yazel, pointed us in the direction of this grant, through IDH. So I came here to follow the process correctly and ask for approval prior to applying.
Trauma system development, what's,
This is in hopes to support our blood program
Okay.
next year. And potentially this year, depending on when they distribute the funds. So, we've got some calls out as far as guidelines, if they appropriate them as they come in, because there is no hard deadline on their grant information. So we don't know if it's like you apply and it's a yes or a no, because there is no closing date. So we're just trying to figure out if there is a closing date, if so, when it is, or is this just kind of open until the money's gone? Because this initially had a hard deadline of January 11th, 2024, and there's still like $2.5 million left.
okay. I'll entertain a motion to allow Nick to apply for this grant. Who's it through?
IDH.
IDH, oh, I see, IDH, Indiana Department.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes that motion, Greg,
I'll say,
Greg seconds it, I'll make that unanimous, what is today? Here you go, what else you got?
Last thing's gonna take a second, and I think it's a lot of
I
information.
see asphalt here.
Yeah, I don't need to talk about that anymore. That's why I said I don't know if I need to talk about this. I talked to Ken. We're square. So, I know you're probably somewhat familiar, however, just because you have a radio, we are getting to the point in which my resources are extremely tapped on a daily basis. And I'm not here making a pity party, I'm not here necessarily asking for anything right now. We're not to the point where we need a fourth truck 24 hours. We are not there. But I think we need to start the discussion in analyzing some of this data to understand, whilst we run 3 24-hour trucks is what my salary ordinance says, I'm running 4 and 5 trucks several days a week. And
To a full shift?
no, hours of the day, usually, you
Peak
know,
hours.
4 to 6 hours a day. There's other times we could probably use them, but by the time people come from home, get in there, get ready, you know, myself and Kaylin, or, you know, a couple people off duty will meet at station as a, you know, because there's a 10, 20, 30-minute drive for some of these people that other people that are closer have come in. And on the back page of your folders, there's a bunch of, or paper clips or whatever, there's a bunch of information here that I think I'd like to take a minute to go through and just go through this information. So all of this information is ran from January 1st to today's date through 22, 23, and 24. Our total runs through from January 1st to August 8th of each year. 22 was 2,700, 23 was 2,800, and you see at 24 is at 3,400. Now, about a little less than 300 of those, well, a little less than 200 of those in that 24 were community paramedicine due to how we were documenting runs before versus how we're documenting now. So that hard number should be about 3,200, which is still 400 over what we did last year at this time. You can see the transfers from Scott in 22 were 578 at this time, or 650 last year, and then 672 this year. Our ALS runs are up 300 over last year. Our BLS are down about 50, but these numbers are not equating. One thing you'll notice is the Scott Memorial destination is down. Our Clark is up, our Norton is up, our Floyd is significantly up by over 50%. Our University is up, and the other hospitals that are 40 miles away, your Brownsboroughs, your Women's and Children's, all of those are up almost 50%. The reason that's important is because when we do those 40+ mile away hospitals, that means there's a truck out of service or out of county for 2.5 to 3 hours. I need, I guess, information, conversation, feedback, guidance, whatever verbiage you want to use on what we can do moving forward. Like I said, we're not ready for a fourth 24-hour truck. That would be wasting money. You know, we brought the on-call back, which is helpful in certain situations. The problem is there's no consistency there because it's, you know, people are going to obviously work guaranteed hours over what if hours. I'm not saying that's a bad program, and I thought it would kind of mediate the trends that we've been seeing since I've been here. But the run volume is definitely exceeding what we're staffing full time. The big box on the right, you'll see our runs by 4-hour increments. You'll see between midnight and 4 a.m. we're up. 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. we're up. 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. we're up immense amounts. We went from 547 last year to 788 this year, and from 657 this last year to 785 this year. You know, that's an 8-hour block that we're seeing a lot of runs, and even the 4 to 8 is a huge jump, and then we're across the board. So I guess, you know, I know this is heavily a council thing as well, because they're going to have to eventually, whether it's budget time or appropriation or whatever, is going to have to allow me to fund this. But I mean, we are exceeding, well, we're exceeding what our normal staffing is regularly.
What's an 8-hour shift? If we said, okay, we're gonna do a C shift or a F shift or whatever that says.
Like a peak truck?
From 8 to 4.
$1
8 to 4, 5 days a week, what would that cost?
Worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario. Then I'm gonna ask you the other thing.
So, times 8, if we did 8 hours a day is what you're saying?
Yep, 8 to 4.
Times 8 times 2 times 5 times 52. 126,000.
That's for a year? 126,000?
Yes, sir.
How much overtime are you paying out right now when you draw people in?
Well, I'll tell you this.
I mean, what's
last year, my normal payrolls were about 54 to 58,000 a week. I'm continually 65 to 68 this year.
overtime?
Just overall. So I mean, that's,
You can't break it down.
I mean, overtime, I'm paying out probably ballparking.
Yeah, I hate to say that.
It's
because-
not just overtime either, it's a lot of part-time
Well, and
stuff
that's
too.
where I just was getting ready to say, because
8
really
to
I can't,
10,000 a payroll.
I can't pull you out and say how much overtime, because some of these people aren't on overtime.
It's just extra.
They're extra work, so you're saying that 18,000 a payroll?
8 to 10,000 a payroll.
8 to 10,000 a payroll.
Times 26 is putting me anywhere from 178,000 to 260,000.
So we're paying more to call somebody in.
The reason being is because I'd say a majority, like my younger people, Derek and Zach and a lot of these people, they're coming in initially on overtime. The first minute they roll in there because their duty shift is their base time. So they're coming in and immediately getting hit with overtime.
How many pay periods you have? 26?
26.
How often do you go to Louisville?
Louisville?
Every day.
How many times a day?
So far this year, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out of the 3,400 runs we've done, about 33% of the time.
I can't be right. I mean, you're saying 8,000
A payroll. That's for 2 weeks.
times 26.
You have to understand, my basic part-time line is like 38,000, my paramedic's 100,000, my advanced, and then I've got emergency comp overtime, which is the big kicker. My emergency comp overtime is 100,000.
I'm not denying that. I'm saying that it'd be cheaper for us to put a Ford truck on.
Problems, benefits. Because no one's gonna quit their job to come to a part-time job. I mean, that's just reality.
But I guess if we're running one shift, could you man it? Can you man one shift that in those particular hours, 5 days a week with part-time? If they were scheduled part-time?
Could I manage those 5 shifts a week with just part-time people? Is that what you're asking? This week, yes. 2 weeks from now,
And I know, cause they're floating from other jobs.
I mean, that's
so.
the thing, is all my part-time people are working full-time elsewhere. No one, like, this isn't anybody's main income as far as the part-time position. So, I mean, that's the caveat of EMS, is that you work full-time at facility A and you work part-time at
But I
facility
mean,
B.
there has to be a fix for funding an 8-hour shift, 5 days a week at 126,000 roughly, or paying people to come in to work those trucks at 208,000.
I'm aware, that's why I'm here. I mean,
Well, I think we need to have,
and I don't,
I
this
think-
doesn't need to be a tonight.
no, and that's where I'm getting at. I think we need to have a committee of some sort.
And I don't know if we wanna
Couple
do a
years.
study, or,
And that's where I'm getting at. I think we need to have somebody to look at to say, what's our best avenue here? Cause and I'm not saying we're throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars away,
oh, they're being utilized.
but.
Like today, we ran 6 trucks and every truck was out, and
Yeah.
I was your coverage because we don't have any
But I'm saying that-
physical ambulances to staff.
But I'm saying with the current space we're in right now, we have to fund to me, I think we fund a Ford truck right now in those peak times. I mean, but if we have to pay benefits, that's going to
Kinda negates
negate,
the
that's gonna
savings.
negate the whole thing.
Mhm.
But the other part of that is that we're paying out in payroll $208,000, and that was at an $8,000 a week, not the 10.
And you know, some weeks are gonna be better than others. Some weeks it might be
That's why I
3,000.
took the lower number.
But, you know, like, I know 2 payrolls ago, it was almost 70,000.
Yeah.
But I mean, but that's also the month we did 565 runs. You can't balance that.
Well,
With what we've got, and as many times as we're going out, and as
But
many
what people
times.
need to understand is that we have to have the crew in town to cover Scott County, or any county, not town.
And I wanna make something clear, that's one thing that we don't do, I won't say don't. 99% of the time, this county has at least an available ambulance in it, unless they're all in runs. We don't go on 3 runs and transport all 3 south, because what happens to the family member that's following south, pulls out, gets T-boned, and now we don't have an ambulance to respond. So I think, you know, logistically, I don't know that the general public is aware of why sometimes we can't transport to their destination of choosing and things like that. And that's just because logistically, you know, our responsibility is the county. And as you probably heard 30 minutes ago, we're still getting called elsewhere, and we're doing our best to mitigate as much as we can and help where we can. The problem is we're not getting that reciprocated when we need help, very often.
Well,
and like this last month alone, I think I've probably, or last quarter alone, I've probably turned down 25 transfers just because I physically don't have the resources. I mean, would we get to them 7 hours from now? Absolutely, but that's not fair to the patient, you know? So we're saying go ahead and contact someone and see if they'll come get them.
well, but
You know, unfortunately, most of the time, we're still doing them 6 hours later because no one's.
that falls into an issue that hospitals have with staffing, so.
Yeah, but, you know,
That's their problem, so.
I'm just,
Does the transport, and the answer to this is more than likely yes, but does the transport vehicle need to be a full-blown ambulance?
yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, we have a certain certification we have to meet with where we're certified at.
And actually, go ahead, Brandon, I'm sorry, Brandon.
Okay.
I mean, I'll
This
clarify
next
what I
thing's gonna
can.
be a logistic nightmare for
Love it. I
the
love
question
problems.
that I'm gonna ask you is gonna be, you're gonna be going,
Get my crayons out.
we have another problem in this county. The other problem in this county we have is getting, some of our vets down to Louisville,
Yep.
across that bridge and back. Because a lot of them's getting older, they can't drive across the bridge, they have trouble. We're already going to Louisville so many times a day, right? We go to at least once or twice a day.
Quadruple that
Probably.
number.
Okay, okay. So, is
7 to
there
10
any
times a
way
day.
that we can combine this?
No,
If we add,
No.
think about it for a little bit.
but you can't, because as soon as he's in the back of the ambulance,
There's a HIPAA
there,
thing.
there has to be coverage there.
You can't
I
have a
know, but
rider.
I know, I understand that, but you not schedule it like, hey, I need to go to the VA hospital, okay, we're gonna pick you up at 8 AM, we're gonna take you down. All right, and then when you get your next call and you're going down there, you're coming back empty.
The coming back part's not difficult, but here's 2 problems with this. Number 1 is I'm paying very highly trained individuals a pretty decent amount of money
I understand.
to get paid $0.
Cause he can't get paid.
Because I can't get paid to transport that. So now I'm taking a resource that I'm already limited on out of service to do that.
That's an
I
expensive,
get it, life sucks.
that's an expensive.
It sucks for me when I have to pay my own payroll.
When you were talking about that.
I'm wondering if there's, I'm not necessarily saying you have to pay for them out of your payroll.
I mean, you hire people, you would have to hire individual people to do that.
I'm wondering if the county can meet you halfway. You're saying that you cannot. I'm saying let's open up the conversation and let's think about it logistically and with the heart of, okay, let's try and get this done. Let's try and think about it. You're already
utilized, we have services
I'm
now.
gonna tell you, I'll be gone at the end of the year, but until then, that'd be nothing that I would entertain.
I will.
We bought half of a vehicle sitting over there in the parking lot that sits there every damn day. We can't get volunteers in this county to drive vets to Louisville.
exactly.
I mean,
because
so
we're asking
I'm not,
for volunteers.
we're not recreating the wheel here by, he won't even let a family member drive in the vehicle because of the liabilities and stuff. We can't put a vet in a vehicle that's running 70 miles an hour, 75, 80 miles an hour to Louisville with red lights blowing and he's sitting in the front seat going, I'm getting a ride
No,
in the
you
VA.
I think what you're saying-
Exactly what I'm saying.
I think
I
you're
am
saying
saying
take
that-
this crew and on their downtime, utilize them to do VA stuff.
Yes,
The problem with that is,
They're in Louisville, why there's an accident here.
the problem with that is, we can sit here and say, all right, Randy, I'm gonna pick you up at noon, right? And 11:30, Greg calls for difficulty breathing, and Greg needs to go to Brownsboro. Now what? Now I take
you're
now,
already doing this with
But-
what you've got. If you're adding another person and you're adding another ambulance,
but I'm not doing this with what I got, is what I'm saying, is I'm continually calling in extra trucks to deal with what I've got.
There's no downtime here.
In the problem with all of this is we don't get to work and go, we're gonna have 19 calls today. We don't know that. Tomorrow I can have 2 runs and the next day I have 32. I could sit here and tell you I could do what you're asking tomorrow if I only have 2 911 runs. Like, we have a problem now with, and I don't wanna say problem like it's an issue, but like hospice runs for us, right? Family calls and says, hey, we need to send Greg from home to the nursing home for respite. Cool. We need you to pick him up between 12 and 1. Okay, you'll call Monday and this is for a Wednesday. Wednesday rolls around and it was like today, where I've got every one of my trucks running and it's noon and I can't get to him to take him to the nursing home. We can't get there now until all these trucks start coming back to service and mitigating these 911 calls. Now it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Or you go to the hospital and.
If you have a
they're
dedicated
delayed.
person that says this is their only job, for sure we could do that. I've got the vehicles to do it. That is a Durango and not an ambulance. That doesn't need 2 people. But again, who are we paying a highly licensed and trained individual to be, for lack of a better term, a chauffeur? Because that's essentially what it turns out to be, because we can't bill for it. We're doing this as a courtesy. If I have a person that just drives a Durango back and forth to Louisville and back, by all means I can make that work. But I cannot down an ambulance to do that, no. There's no way to schedule that. Because either what happens is, you're supposed to be picked up from the VA at noon. I've got nobody down there. Are we going down unloaded and coming back unloaded?
But what happens when the VA's not on time and he sits there
Well,
2 more hours?
I said it would be a logistic nightmare.
I think if you have a dedicated person to do that, sure, I've got a vehicle to do
I think we need to look into this, though, one way or another.
And that's why I said, eventually I'll have a vehicle that we can, if Denise wants it, cool. If she wants to facilitate that, but.
We're having trouble getting involved. That's the problem. We don't have no people who wants to volunteer.
Well, they all say they're volunteers, but nobody, they wanna volunteer and say I'm a volunteer, but when it comes time to drive a vet to the
Exactly.
VA, they're not a volunteer.
Yeah, you wanna pay someone Monday through Friday to be a driver? I'm sure I could find someone. It's not gonna be at the driver fee though. Cause again, somebody's gotta have a livable wage. I can think of 2 people on my staff that would love to make their paramedic pay to drive people around. So I don't think finding again, you're paying for something that they're not contributing their skill set of what they're being paid for to do, if that makes sense.
We'd be cheaper to buy or call an Uber.
That'd be an interesting line item on the budget sheet. But yeah,
we have the vehicles, we don't have the people.
And another problem is right now, we are, unless it's a 911 from home, a 911, we're blocked out of the VA.
The school has driver's ed and we can put the VA in the driver.
Anyway, so if we
had a
took,
guy come in here and sit down and say, our
and
bus
we as a
runs through
county
here.
I know.
Yes.
And I see him every
a
morning.
person.
I pass him every
at
day.
the strip mall.
Yeah.
if we as a
It just
county
doesn't
paid,
work out.
if we as a county paid the person, would you be willing to oversee that person?
Sure.
To just drive?
Sure.
To drive what?
A Durango? Or a passenger vehicle?
I think if.
Not an ambulance.
No, I think we should be able to use the VA vehicle that we already got.
they're gonna tell you that Denise has already said that there's an application process, there's a background checks and everything else you have to go through. They finally have dropped you have to be
COVID.
vaccinated. Before you can drive that vehicle, you have to have all that. Now granted, she did say at the same time that the reason that they don't have people at the American Legion and the VFW that will volunteer is because they haven't taken the shots and they're not gonna take the shots. So they wouldn't qualify. Now, she hasn't came back and said, hey, there's people out here that will do it now because they don't have to be vaccinated. So I haven't heard her come back and say that, you know, she can open that up to more people now. But
So you're saying that we can't hire somebody with,
we can hire somebody, but they can't drive that vehicle.
The vetting
Because
for that vehicle has to go through the governmental vetting.
It's a federal government
and we
vehicle.
can't
No.
have them do that vetting and hire, give that person a salary?
It would be easier just to hire someone as a county employee and let them,
And that's what
Drive
Denise was
whatever.
telling you that night in here.
I have a vehicle.
When Denise was telling you that
You
night.
have a vehicle, so
Yes.
that's not an issue.
No.
Denise was
Okay.
telling you that
He's got
night,
vehicles,
I get that, but Denise was telling you that night that they don't have to go through that vetting process if they're driving our vehicle. We would have to go through a background check just to make sure they're not,
Driving record, yeah.
but the other part of that is, why do we have that vehicle if we can't occupy a seat with it?
Yeah,
So,
there's just too many regulations on it, really.
Yeah, that's not a me thing.
is that all you got?
Yeah, I mean,
Let's do this, and I think, I'm not familiar with the process of that, but is there someone that we could reach out to get a survey of some sort of going?
there's a couple companies, but you're paying tens of thousands of dollars.
Is there a school that wants to do a study?
My recommendation would, this is just me, and you're probably all gonna throw stuff at me, but my recommendation would be probably to bring, you know, one of whatever of you, a couple of the council, a couple of our people, and maybe a couple of the facilities that we deal with, so everybody has an understanding from different perspectives of what is needed. Or we can sit down in a joint thing between you and the council, and I can bring up any type of run volume that you want, analytical data, logistics, and you give me what you want and I will show you what I've got, and we can brainstorm together as far as that. You know, within our charting software, I have the ability to run thousands of analytical data points depending on what you want. I don't know that I need a consultant to tell me that we're
I don't think so.
exceeding our run volume. Like I'm here
just-
telling you that.
It'd be expensive.
What I wanna know
I mean,
is.
we're a benefit salary of what we're gonna pay.
I wanna know, in just crunching a number here a while ago, is 208, 126, I mean, are we better off, leaving it like it is, we better off, you know, bringing on a crew and pay the benefits for a shift like that? Or are we better off to do something different? And that's where we need, quite honestly, we need probably a financial person or an accountant that does numbers to say, here's all your figures in here, and you said you probably have that information anyway, so.
But I just wanted to give you
And
the,
other opportunities, that we've
Oh, yeah.
talked about in the past, so.
yeah, and I mean, that was just for a logistical,
I get
you
that,
know,
but that's
resourcing of things.
still something we need
Well,
to
that's
talk about.
good, thank you.
But let's,
And again, this is, I guess, halfway through the year. This is a 6-month snapshot.
Wow.
You know, it's January to
so
August.
those other figures, they were to date too?
Yeah, everything is from January 1st to August 8th of
Okay,
each
that's-
year.
I thought
So I
that's-
didn't want to do a year run and then give you, so I
Yes.
ran that.
I wondered if that's what it was.
Yep, so that's a snapshot, real time, real data of the same time span.
All
You
right,
know, and I know that I'm continually exceeding my payroll allotment each week, but I don't know what the alternative is, and I'd rather be
Right.
transparent with you guys and even the council saying, this, you know, everything that's highlighted in yellow is the high years, and if you'll notice, all but 2 are in the right-hand column of this year.
Well, again, I was here long enough to know that we were running 2 ambulances.
We should have been running 3 for 3 or 4 years.
And finally, we got the 3rd ambulance, but because we had some extra money and said, hey, spend that money, run the 3rd ambulance, and then we just were able to keep it. My whole thing here is that, and I hate to say this because I've always said that if our numbers are down, run numbers are down, people are safer, less accidents, people are healthier, it's obvious our run volume's up for some reason. People are either unhealthy or having accidents. But in your business that you run, and I call it a business, but in your service or business that you run, you're still profitable even with the increase in the payroll and everything else. So we're still staying above grade. We're still, you know, I hate to say it, but we're still making money. But we need to make sure we're not burning our people out, so.
And that's where I'm at, is I'm dependent on the same, myself included, you know, I'm in here at 2 o'clock in the morning helping the crews do transfers and do runs. Not that that's not my job, but that's, you know, when my same people are doing that, at some point you want a day off.
I get that, and I want them to have a day off, but, but that's where we need, so let us think about this. I know you brought it for us to digest, and I'll be speaking with you, and hopefully these guys will be speaking with you after this, you know, between this meeting and our next meeting, maybe we can come up with some sort of,
and I'm gonna kind of bring it to the council, because I gotta meet with them anyway, and just kind of show them where we're at. I know that there can't be an appropriation or anything now, because it hasn't been advertised by any means, and I don't even know what to ask for, just because I don't, you know. My concern with this though is that, you know, there's certain upgrades that have to be done each year. You know, we went with the monitors, which is going to be a yearly expense for quite a few years. I've got a truck, 2 trucks that are gonna be for 3 and 5 years. Granted, those are things that I'm able to cover in my budget, but at some point, I can't have, as you know, my receipts start being less than what my expenditures are.
Yep.
And I don't think I'm there yet, but we're getting closer every day. And I'm trying to balance and be realistic. You know, it's easy to sit here and say I can afford it now when I've got $1 million in the bank. It's not gonna be easy when I have that extra truck payment, that extra monitor payment. And again, we don't know what next year's run volume is gonna be. Here, we'll be fine. Next year, we go back to 2019 numbers, that all changes.
okay.
I'm not asking for a handout, I'm not asking for anything from anyone but ourselves, but I think we truly need to evaluate the resources that we've got with this, because we are, and I know you hear it, how many times we're calling and stuff and we're running. We're getting to a tipping point here. Again, I'm not looking for a 24 truck, we're not there, but we are an 8 to 10 hour peak truck, or we are, you know, my other thought process was to do this. And it to me, this makes more sense, and just hear me out. To me, it makes more sense to pull my captains or my supervisors off a truck. Hear me out. Because that can do one of 2 things. That allows me to, because right now I run paramedics across the board. Every truck is a paramedic truck, right? It allows me to either do one of 2 things. Bring that 3rd truck down to an ALS advanced level, right? Or still have paramedics across the board, and now you're not dependent on anyone else, because you would be dependent on my command staff, myself, Kalen, or Tyler, and that supervisor to up a 4th truck, and you're only paying 1 person, if that makes sense. Because they would still be there to chase and resource as needed, just as we do, but when doo-doo gets thick, they are on a truck, I'm on a truck, or they are on a truck, and Kalen's on a truck, and we're only paying that 1 extra person instead of 2 people on downtime. That's the way that I'm looking at it. You know, that's just my idea, because, you know, yeah, we're hiring 3 more people, but it's better than hiring, you know, 4 or 6 more people, depending on how you want to staff that truck. So that's my only thing, is that's kind of a middle ground of, instead of having a PEEF truck, it still gives you 24 hours of coverage instead of 8. But that's just my thought. That's kind of the brainchild that I've got is
So
that's it.
you're still talking 8 to 4, 5 days a week?
No, if you pull the supervisors off the truck, it's 24 hours a day that your supervisor's off the truck. You know, and during times like today, I have a truck staff instantly because it's my supervisor and me, or my supervisor and Kaylin, or my supervisor and Tyler. And what happened today is we had Kaylin and Tyler on a truck. We had 2 people coming off duty on a truck. I had my 3 duty trucks, and I had nowhere to go because I'm out of trucks. So I'm in my vehicle responding to runs until I can get trucks there. You know, that's kind of my thing is if we bring that supervisor off the truck, we're paying one person to be extra, and by extra I mean not dedicated on an ambulance, but it makes them easier to either for a person that you're already paying a salary to staff that truck instantly. It gives them the ability to resource runs just as we do. And you're not, instead of hiring 6 more people or 4 more people for a peak truck, you're only hiring 3 more people to replace them on the truck. That's just kind of my thought.
Yeah, but that's if you, Kayla, or Tyler's available.
Yes. Which is a majority of the time. And I don't want to say that I'm never going to take a vacation. I haven't yet. I'd love to. But at the same time, even so, at that point, we're calling 1 person in to do overtime instead of 2. So either way, you're still mitigating that
Well,
cost.
I think that's where some sort of committee or something is brainstorming,
Yep.
trying to come up with several solutions, so.
Yeah, I would, I'll entertain, yeah, I'll entertain the peak truck, I'll entertain the, you know, the supervisor truck just because.
But we also need to know the
cost, 100%. And my only thing is, if we're gonna spend we'll just call 130,000 on the peak truck, or we can spend 180,000 on a 24-hour truck, I'd rather take the $50,000 hit to have 24 hours of coverage instead of 40. Or, well, 196 versus 40, but that's just me. November and June.
All right. I have no doubt that you need, and I'm fully supportive of what you need. Whatever you tell me you need, that's fine.
And a raise.
Huh? Well, about what you're talking about. But I would like to talk to you later date.
I'm there Monday through Saturday.
On a person driving back, because I believe that we can use some unrestricted opioid. I just messaged Zach, he said we could, to pay a salary, take somebody back and forth to Louisville VA.
The only days during the week I'm not available are Tuesdays, and that's because I teach medic class.
Okay.
So Monday through Saturday I'm there. You just let me know when, and I'll make myself available unless it's a Tuesday.
Okay.
And I'll get you whatever information I can give you. We can kind of have a think tank in my office or wherever you'd like. I'm willing to help, just not in the capacity of an ambulance. I can't sacrifice that.
Oh, no, I
Go into a vehicle,
understand that.
I will help that.
I understand that. I wanted to ask. I'm looking at every avenue to try to get this.
Understood.
Get this accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your damn death warrant.
Hasn't kicked in yet. Thank you.
Transfer station new employee. I know we did interviews. Well, we had one interview, one didn't show or wasn't able to get hold of somebody, so.
He did call back afterwards and said that he'd taken another job.
Okay, well, that's even, makes it even easier. So Randy, you got anything you wanna talk about, the employee that, we interviewed?
Well, I mean, basically, he's the only one really followed through and applied, and, I've known him for a long time, he's trustworthy. His name's James Carey, and I'm fine with hiring.
Okay, Greg, you got any comments?
Yeah, James did a good job, and we're lucky to have him.
All right, well, I, also, that was a call that I was out of town and unavailable and called in and listened to the interview and asked the questions as well, so I'll entertain a motion to hire James Carey as a part-time, transfer station employee. And the reason I say that is that we already have a part-time person, and because of some social security issues, he, can't work too many hours, and they both agreed that they could work out the schedule, so.
So I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion to hire James Carey as a part-time, transfer station employee. Greg?
What's that?
Greg seconds that, make that unanimous, so. And just for everybody to know, it's not costing us any money because what is already budgeted for the part-time person out there will be, that money will be split between both of them, so. Cemetery board, and Jennifer's gonna hit me in the head, but, I have not
You're
been
just
able.
keeping it in front, that's
I have
all.
not been able to, speak to anybody on that board. I have asked Jennifer if she would have, the gentleman that does mow for the cemetery board now to either call me or do something, so if you'd have him reach out to me or give me his number and I'll reach out to him. We need to understand his wants and needs, and I know his wants are probably more money and more help, so, this has been and I'm gonna be honest, because actually our attorneys, told us that we haven't properly been, handling the cemetery board very, by state statute, and we need to rectify that like we have with the regional sewer board. There's supposed to be 5 members, and each member comes off each year, and either we reappoint them, and as long as I've been a commissioner, the cemetery board has appointments that have never been on any appointment list that we've ever had, so I think it's been one of those boards that's kinda out of sight, out of mind, and we need to get that shored up. I know, 2 or 3 of the members of that board, if not all of them, actually I say that, one of them just passed away not too long, a week or so ago, but we need to right the ship on this board and make sure that our cemeteries are getting mowed. And these are county and historical cemeteries, not your church cemeteries and other, cemeteries of that nature. These are ones that are, I won't say private, but they're just historical ones that sometimes you would have to drive through the field and find them out beyond the cornfield someplace where they're out there mowing. I did get a call about Pigeon Roost Cemetery, and it's been mowed, but it's not been weeded, so, we just need to get some stuff straightened out with that and, make sure that we have the proper help. We do have the proper equipment, but we need the proper help, and we need to, up their wages, because I don't think they're making, what was it, 10 something?
No, it's 1178, I believe.
1178, so we need to bring them back into the 21st century here and get them some more help. But if you would send me his number or email it to me or something, I'll reach out to him and find out how we can get him some help. I know we've talked, 3 commissioners have talked about sending a letter to the council with some requests for, their budget, thoughts, I guess, for the calendar year 2025, with some salary increases for a few, departments. This is something that we're gonna have to actually, and Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, is the person that works for, or does the mowing, does their money come out of the commissioner's fund? Okay, so, Mr. Attorney, if this guy's wages or, you know, hourly rate is coming out of this commissioner's budget or commissioner's fund, can we increase that hourly rate, or does that have to go to, cause I'm sure there's
I
not a.
believe that that would be set under the salary ordinance.
Mhm.
So I believe that that would be a council
Okay,
issue to raise the rate. But
that's fine, either way, we need to send this along to the council as well, saying, hey, this guy needs to be up to whatever, you know, more than what it is now.
Add it to the list.
Add it to the list. So, all right, getting back to the other capital asset policy ordinance.
That's the one we're still looking at through the Joseph Wells. We
Okay.
need to look at that and decide what we're gonna do with it. Approve it or not. It's been, I didn't send
we
it again this
received
month.
copies of it at one of the previous
I think,
meetings.
yeah, I remember saying that.
And again, I think the only thing that I told you all at that time was that, it's just a question of threshold of what amounts, right, would trigger certain things to require you to place it on our, you know, asset inventory list and like depreciation schedules and things, so, if you want to, I would say that, whatever that amount is, seems to be like the big piece that I would focus on. I think it's a good ordinance in terms of establishing an ongoing policy of how to manage these and keep track of it.
And how to get rid of it.
And how to get rid of it if it's hurting us, but, ultimately what you want that threshold to be is your all's decision.
Okay, so let's do this. I think if you don't have a copy. Yes,
Hello, I'm sorry, I've missed a couple meetings up here. What is this policy in reference to? Is this policy towards assets that are held by the county, or what?
Correct.
yeah,
Okay, so these are county assets and this regulates, either their values or,
It doesn't regulate their values, it just tracks. It sets up a standard for tracking when an asset is valued at a particular amount, how it should be tracked on a schedule to determine whether or not, you know, like a vehicle, for instance, has depreciated to the point where, you know, maybe we want to get rid of it. But it's also for building structures, land, other types of things, all those things.
we haven't done one for a while, and we actually, did this, and he's been working on it probably for a year.
Since I've been here, yeah.
So what it is that we're updating our asset, I guess, report, so that we know what we do have and whether it's up in value, down value, or, so technically that's what it is, but I'm gonna ask you guys to look over that
Yeah, so-
ordinance, and then at our next meeting, we can determine a number that.
The capital asset threshold and the proposed was $15,000. An asset with a value of under $15,000 would be expensed in the year of purchase. At least that's the amount that I see from the one that was sent out.
So, just look it over and next meeting we'll approve it or approve the number or not, so. Next thing.
Same thing we provide to your office as far as furniture and TVs and vehicles and monitor, like radios.
In a way, yes. He's going through that and he's trying to put it together. I mean, he's pulling, all these invoices.
$15,000 is the value. That makes a lot of people's lives
Not for you.
significantly easier.
It does, yeah.
Because I think the last time we did a report, it was like $1,000 or something that we had to report.
It's not that you don't have to report it, it's how it's tracked on the schedule. even assets valued at less than $15,000 would still
Be tracked, just
Tracked.
expended at the end of the year as far as tangible value.
Yes.
What, yeah,
I know just where I work, when it comes time and they're tracking those, it's a major deal for the ones that are actually trying to track this stuff. And then if you have something like it's a good point, that threshold of 15 or whatever, I mean, you may have something that you've had for 20 years that's not worth, $20, but it has a number on it. So it's like, oh, it's in one of these drawers, so then you're digging for it, they're trying to track it, so it does, that number means a lot.
on.
Well, that's where we run into issues, especially with equipment, is if we've had an equipment failure, the supplier exchanges the serial, they change out product, and now the serial number's changed.
Mhm.
And it hasn't updated from the last one, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, with UPS, we had asset tags. My laptop had an access tag on, and actually they always had it, but it actually got a little different at Worldport when one of the managers was stealing laptops and they were going out without the asset tag on it. And he was leaving his other computer in the desk and putting the brand new one in his briefcase. And so then everybody had to have the tag on their laptop, so, and they had to see the tag, so. But again, it also is how to get rid of county property and making sure that it's dropping off and we're disposing of it properly, so.
And it tracks, it's an attempt to try and give a real dollar value to assets where you may only have a historical purchase value and, what's it worth now, so. And it creates categories for different types of assets, basically. Building structures, improvements would be another thing that it addresses, so.
DNR floodplain administrator.
Okay, that was one that we talked about before. I don't remember if I did send you a job description. We talked about that today. But this is some of the stuff that we're gonna have to get done there. This showed up, I think, at the last September or October meeting, and now we're back.
I thought Kevin was gonna take a while.
Well, we mentioned it in a meeting, but I don't know what happened beyond that. I think it kinda got dropped.
National Floodplain Insurance Program.
Yeah, we decided that his job kinda goes hand in hand with this anyway, and he was gonna.
Nate, I thought there was some training.
So there is training.
There is, yeah.
It's like a day or so or whatever. So,
I think it might be a little more in-depth than that. I
I
can't
think it
remember.
is in depth, but.
Is it only
and I
one
said a
day?
day or two, but I think it may be like 40 hours of training.
It might be more like that one.
But I guess the question
I
would
would
be.
say that you need to designate somebody.
Yeah. But again, I think it's a situation where, does this change Kevin's scope of work or his job, about it, or,
How many things is Kevin going to be?
He wears a lot of hats.
he's a jack of all trades. Yeah, let's hear you.
Has the drainage board looked, or like,
That would be the most ideal, right?
has the drainage board looked at somebody that they,
I have no idea that it's kinda, you might have some people in there that would be interested. But that does sort of come back to our area plan.
Well,
shutdown.
I
it
don't
says
know
here,
how would the drainage board provide that person?
Oh,
Cause they don't
I
have
have no
full-time
idea.
employees or anything.
I'm just wondering, they seem to be the best
Well, they would, but I mean, they don't have.
situated.
says here the course will be off.
They get grants for $2,000 a year.
No, I'm not,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not.
It says here, you gotta do one of these following. The course would be offered August 5th through the 8th from 8 to 5 at another county government center. And they only take 35 people in that class. Or there's a 6-hour virtual or in-person workshop offered by the DNR. We plan to host this again next spring around March. And then EMI in Maryland is hosting a meeting in February and June. And then NFIP 101 is hosted, taken at your own pace year round. So there's avenues for him to get the training, but it looks like he has to have the training before June 30th of 2025. So let's ask Kevin if would entertain that, and I guess if he doesn't.
I thought he would already. I thought we did this.
My other thing would be, and it's probably not, but would be Tom Springston, just, whether he'd be interested in doing something like that. So. But anyway, let's ask Kevin first. Nazarene Church roof update, and we have had, of course, if you followed any meetings, we've had a roof, some shingles blowed off. We did check with the insurance, and I don't think they were receptive to doing anything there, so we had reached out to 4 actually.
They just emailed an estimate in, I forwarded it to you.
Well, I had just now, okay.
Laura, yeah.
There's actually 4 different roofing companies that we've asked to give us a quote on a standing seam roof. I don't know how I end up with 4 of those, but they're all these bids are similar with the same scope of work. So I'm gonna read the first one off here from Roof Tech. They are out of Louisville, Kentucky. Their quote for a standing seam 24 gauge metal roof is $38,170. Looks like Complete Construction and Excavating from Austin, Indiana. Their quote for a standing seam is $24,100. And she's getting one quote, but then we have a quote from J.A. Brody Construction, and it looks like his estimate is $38,650, but it looks, and
That's a big issue.
yeah, hang on a minute. That's for gutters and.
Yeah.
Do I know? So this isn't an add to that?
No, you have to, that's for shingle. This would be additional for that would be additional for that. So right now, that's not,
Okay.
we may have to hire him later to come back and do that after.
Well, up here it says, once roof is completed, we will rehang existing gutter with extra hangers. This roof package for standing seam includes snow, ice, rail for both sides. Estimates for
same. That's the same as.
Okay. So this bid here is $38,650. So that's 3 of the 4, and Greg has the 4th one for. Merge, install plan. Oh, that's shingles, this is metal, okay. This is, from Gent Construction, and it looks like this quote is $26,421.28. So we have a $38,000 $38,650, a $38,170, a $24,100, and a $26,421. So as what we normally do, we stick with the lowest bid, which is $24,100, and that is with complete construction and excavating, so. So what's your guys' pleasure?
I'll make a motion to go with complete construction.
Okay, Randy?
And we're using opioid, restricted opioid, correct?
Yes, that's what I thought we were doing, so. Randy's made a motion to accept the lowest bid at complete construction for $24,100, correct?
I'll second the low bid.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous.
How much was that, I'm sorry?
$24,100. So, moving along.
And thanks to everybody that did
That's
put in an
correct.
estimate and took time to read it.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
That's a lot of work, but I will say this, now that we have passed that and we need to get a scope of work together and for the interior of the building, leveling, and we'll have to work together between the three of us to come up with scope of work that we want done to get it into a position where we can utilize it for, you know, a community center for, you know, recovery meetings or any other meetings that is not related to recovery, or the sheriff using it for meetings with his inmates and recovery, you know, people or, and organizations, so.
And maybe we think about just having a, kind of a scope of services type meeting, with, and invite contractors, to come in to all look at it, and
I think you're absolutely right. We need to have all the contractors who wants to bid come that same day. We all have the same conversation, so everybody's understanding and bidding apples to apples.
That's true, and I think we need to just amongst
And it
ourselves.
will truly, that one is gonna need to be closed bid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think we all just have bullet points of, hey, a new HVAC, new floorings and painting and,
yeah, we need to all be on the same page and knowing what we want.
yeah. Well, we ought to just come up with a board and write it on a board, put it up there and go, here's what we're talking about. Now, here's the building, here's what we want done.
well, and they
You
may
all know
find
what-
stuff that we don't know that needs to be done too, so that.
Well, somebody's gonna ask a question we're not,
That's right.
we haven't thought of.
So, but anyway, I think that's how we handle that. And I think we need to do it sooner than later, so.
I agree.
So,
Be nice
So
to
we-
get that going.
so we need to get something from us to the paper so that we can say we're entertaining, or maybe there's gonna be a, I don't know how you do that. Zach, how would you do that if we wanna have a kind of a open house type of thing where contractors come in? Can we advertise it that way, or could we do that?
I mean, the normal requirement is before that you would enter like the bidding process is that you would have a licensed engineer architect prepare exact plans and specifications for the design and construction or redesign and reconstruction or remodeling. Then with those in mind, inclusive of separate materials to be used, that's what you would use as like your bid packet. And you would advertise that the bid specifications or the specifications for the project were open to receive from the auditor's office through a particular date. Bids must be received by a particular date, sealed in the manner required by the statutes, delivered that way as well. In terms of having a prelim, like almost like open, I think that you could do that assuming that you were at that point still looking at if you'd not, created the design plans, for instance, you could invite like an engineer or architect to come out there in addition to, the potential people who may bid at a later date on the actual construction. Does that make sense?
We had
Yeah.
an engineer look at it.
I think maybe we do this, maybe we have,
He might have looked, but did he create
Yeah.
plans?
go over there with us, or one of us, or whatever, and just say, here's what we wanna do. And have him write, hey, here's what I think you need to do, cause he's done plenty of contracting stuff. Or if, we could go to another contractor, or someone that is retired, or Lincoln Taylor type of person, and say, cause Lincoln's retired, and say, Lincoln, here's what we want.
And have him write
Have him write the
up
scope.
a work scope.
Write the scope of work.
Yeah.
And he would know, hey, you need this type of flooring, or we'll tell him, hey, this is the type of flooring we want. This is what we want on the walls, whether it's plaster or, or not, or paint, and just let him write the scope of work. We pay him to write it.
Yep.
So, but we get in trouble with that when we do the hard line scope and stuff. I think there's some minimal stuff that we can put in there, but the reason to get contractors there is for them to be innovative, to come up with things that we haven't seen.
Sure.
There's gonna be things that we see, we do this at the state lot, we have alternative procurement process that we put risk on the contractors
Well, I think that,
to save us money and for them to be more innovative, so we're not restricting them to certain things. There's a list of stuff that we know that we have to do. But then there's those other things that that's why I say they're gonna be innovative to think.
Well, I think we do the both. I think we have,
so it sounds like,
Lincoln,
it
right?
sounds like we're not even to the step of like the bidding process to me. Like, if you want to do that, I don't see any reason why you cannot invite those people and do those things and try and come up with ideas that would be incorporated into specific plans at a later date. If you wanted to advertise that and also send out, a multitude of notifications to contractors who work in that, specific business, I don't see any issue with that, with the understanding that, it's not a bid process at this point. It's that we have an issue. We're going to have a bid process that will open up, because the statute that applies in this specific situation states that when the estimated cost of the work or improvement is greater than $25,000, the board or commission, it lists a bunch of other things, or agent acting on behalf of the state or commission created by law, shall adopt plans and specifications and shall award the contract for the public work or improvement to the lowest best bidder who submits a bid for the performance of the work. So you have to have the specifications and design plan, I believe, prior to that. And that $25,000 threshold is also the difference between something that you need to do with a licensed architect and or engineer versus not. If it's less than 25, you don't necessarily always have to obtain, an engineering plan.
Most things with your road and bridges and things that you see these improvements going on out there, it's design build. We're, like what you're saying, you've got plans, take those out to contract them all. Some things we do, bid build design, alternative ways where there's those hard things that we have to have done, and meet certain requirements, but then, we open that up for innovation for contractors, to provide more value. And those things can help save money. And I just say that, cause from that aspect, my mind goes back to, you know, what we do on road and bridge side. I don't know why we couldn't have contractors to say, guys, this is what we have.
No,
There's
absolutely.
certain things
I've
we
been
want
in
done,
this
now these are the
situation
things
before.
we have to have done
Yeah.
here. But
We have Lincoln write up the, work scope,
we wanna try to build as much value for
Yeah.
our dollars in there too, so.
but have him write up the work scope, and then we'll have a meeting with all the contractors, like you said. That way, question and answers, you know, can be done right there, everybody hears the same thing.
Yeah.
That takes care of it, right?
Because for certain types of projects like that, there's contractors that are shoved in the room and they're doing the same thing. They're asking those questions. They're,
Alright, well, so we'll get ahold of Lincoln and have him go over there. I'll get you. Alright. We're down to consideration of the regular special claims.
We got 2 special claims this time.
I'll start off on that.
Are you looking at, we're talking about, are you saying build, you were saying design build project, right? We'll go down to.
Take care.
See you guys.
See ya.
Alright, these are, 2 invoices from, one of them's from the law office, or Heather Archibald Peters for services rendered for $435. The other one is a,
Why is that a special claim?
I don't know, I mean, did she not get it on time?
Well, she always sends them in late, but I think Mandy pulled it ahead, not thinking this time, I'm not sure.
Okay. Bergen Communication LLC for a Motorola
After the public works.
radio set
Section, you had this.
for $9,279. So I'll entertain a motion to pay both these special claims.
I'll make a motion.
Randy makes a motion to pay the 2 special claims. Greg?
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous.
You know what I was thinking, don't
So
you,
it's
Gary?
basically.
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking. It's gonna be paid now or later,
So,
so.
I know.
So you have the book on the other claims?
Here's the regular ones, I'm sorry.
So
So I got this problem.
everybody's got those from Mandy, so I'll entertain a motion to pay the regular claims that Mandy sends out to us in the email.
That's their key.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion to pay the regular claims, Greg.
Sorry.
I'll second that.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. Don't take off yet. Alright, consideration of payroll for July 26th. Everybody had an opportunity to look at the payroll. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Randy makes a
Everybody
motion to approve the payroll for July the 26th, Greg.
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, I'll make that unanimous, so. Everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes for July the 17th.
Yep.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for July the 17th.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Greg, or Randy makes a motion, Greg.
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. All right, Counselor, do you have anything extra?
I do not.
You gotta sign these too.
Do not? Marcella?
I was gonna give a shout out to the commissioner and the highway department on that road sign they put up in front of the EMS station in honor of Devonna, name it Devonna Way. Thought that was a real good tribute for her memory.
Thank you,
Whose idea it was, but.
thank you.
Well, we got done. Is there more than one?
Just the one there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
very, very fitting tribute for her,
And thank Nick for his participation.
I don't know whose idea it was. It's a good idea.
Speaking of that, I don't know if anybody's drove by EMS lately, but they have a new blue building out back that, it's turned out better than I thought it would be.
And he's wanting more vehicles in it.
We just made- Anyway, if you have an opportunity, the public has an opportunity to drive out by there and see it, it is a very economical way to protect $350,000 vehicles that are parked in it, so.
It's hailed twice since it's been up, and I much appreciate it.
I guarantee it.
nice building.
So, any of you guys got anything special? I don't know, anything? Randy, you got anything extra?
Did we announce that the highway department has agreed at some point in time that, Nick's gonna pay for the asphalt, and, they're gonna come out there and connect the pavement to the concrete. Connect the dots.
19-foot-6-inch gap.
A 19-foot-6-inch gap, because with the wings on our, paver, that's what it comes out to.
That's even better. Jennifer, you have anything?
No, the only thing, just on saying that, I think it's on the 15th that Devonia's family's gonna have a memorial service here on the courtyard.
Celebration.
At 7 p.m. So,
Yeah.
What date was that?
I think it's 15th.
15th.
Yeah, I think the 15th, it's on Thursday. With that, I just have one last thing. We've had this plaque for months now, and because of Marty's health, she has not been able to come back in to receive it. But just want everybody to know that we do have a plaque here in recognition of Marty's service to the county. We'll get it to her and her family, so I just wanted to make that recognition in an open meeting, so. With that, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Randy, Greg's made a motion. You want to second that?
Something like that.
Something like that, and I'll make that unanimous, so you feel her.